Pecha Kucha 126 Preacher, which is recommended for mature readers. I've spoken about this recently. I've just reread my collection, but I wanted to do it a bit more justice. There's a lot here, so I'm not even gonna discuss the themes. I'm just gonna do like kind of a basic synopsis and a cast, starting with Jesse Custer, the main character, he's Texan, and he goes on a journey, and his journey makes up basically the plot of Preacher. He is the preacher. He's lost his faith. He's in Texas. Uh, the spawn of a demon and angel enters him at the start of the first issue. When he's conducting mass, it possesses him and explodes the church. He is left with the power of the word of God, which gives him the power to compel people to do whatever he tells them to do, and they cannot resist. Genesis, the spawn of the angel and demon, tells him that God has vacated the throne of heaven from fear of this power, so Jesse takes it upon himself to chase God across all creation, to hold him accountable for being the ultimate bad dad. He does this with Cassidy, his Irish vampire friend, who is always the life of the party, and provides comedy hijinks and extreme violence in equal measures. Preacher is very violent. It's got coarse language, sexual themes, and religious satire, if you haven't picked that up yet. Tulip is Jesse's long-term girlfriend slash soulmate. She's a bad motherfucker with the guns. She was taught to hunt by her pappy, and she is the definition of an independent woman. This was written in the 90s, so she was doing this shit way before it became a fad. God is actually a character in Preacher. He is, well, if you want to know what he's about, you better just read it. I don't want to spoil anything. If Catholicism is near and dear to your heart and you can't take a good solid whacking to your faith, Preacher's definitely not for you. So unrelated to that are the Grail, who have the direct blood descendants of Jesus Christ and intend to orchestrate a worldwide apocalypse to conquer the world, to bring about the rapture, even though they don't actually work with God, the character in this per se. They are introduced to the reader through Star, her Star. He's German, he has no sense of humor. He's basically Agent 47 if he was in a comic. He's ruthlessly efficient, he's a bad motherfucker, and he tends to solve his problems by shooting them. His support staff are Featherstone and Hoover. Featherstone is the woman, Hoover is the black dude. Featherstone is like his Star's personal assistant, very resourceful, very clever. Linchpin of his kind of operations. Hoover and Featherstone have like a running joke where Star keeps mocking Hoover. Hoover wants to swear, and then Featherstone will do it on his behalf, and then he gets upset. This is Hoover trying to get a hooker for Star because he's sexually repressed, but he's not ashamed to admit it. He likes to pay women for sex and have no emotions. It's comedy all round. There's a lot of violent comedy people in this. The Saint of All Killers is a cowboy with guns that never miss, that always kill, and he's completely unkillable. He's been sent by heaven to basically stop Genesis and Jesse from finding God. Hugo Root is a small town sheriff. He's in it for a very small amount of time, but he really sets the tone for the entire book. He is extremely offensive, but he is the very emphasis of the nature of the black humor in Preacher. His son tries to shoot himself in the face to emulate Kurt Cobain, the singer of Nirvana. He fails to kill himself and is dubbed Arseface by Cassidy. He is one of the cast of side characters who were very interesting in their own right. Another one of those would be Jody, who is the surrogate father of Jesse, in that he teaches him how to be a man by beating the shit out of him most of the time. He's a real badass. but he's as immoral as they come. With Jody is his boy TC. This is the real good old boy with the gap tooth. He likes to stick his bleep into anything with a pulse. That's his shtick. And again, there's perverse humor runs through this entire thing. If your sense of humor isn't up to it, you better just step aside. John Wayne is also a recurring character. Jesse basically has an imaginary friend who is John Wayne, and he's fully aware that it's not John Wayne because he knows when John Wayne died and his John Wayne showed up before. But basically, he's his like psychological crutch to stop him going insane. And then you've got side characters like the sex detectives, who I'm not even sure why they're in this. I just think they're in this because Garth Ennis wanted to get away with as much as he could, and they're very entertaining for the small amount of time that they're in this book. Yeah, and everyone, most of the main cast have issues devoted to their backstories, and in this one, Cassidy meets another vampire, and surprise, surprise, extreme violence and hilarity ensues. Preacher is a complete story that starts at the start and ends at the end, so you're not roped into something like Batman. You can pick it up and you can put it down. It's 9 trade paperbacks. It's probably cost you an arm and leg now because of inflation. But I highly recommend it to anyone who wants a good morality story full of black humor, religious satire, and extreme violence. So Sad Clown of the Week this week, well, not this week, the next couple of months is going to be the Pecha Kucha series itself, because I'm kind of signed up to a full-time training course to become a security guard of all things. But I would really like to get paid to sit on my ass and do nothing. That sounds great. So that's going to go from next Monday until like the second to last week of April. If I'm going to find the time to do any work or the inclination, or if I'm just going to read more comics. That remains to be seen, but whatever I read, it's probably not going to be as good as Preacher. It's definitely in my top 5 best comic book series ever. So there you go. Pecha Kucha 126 done, and I will see you next time.